Hi, I'm Kim Garnica, and I'm here to talk to you about Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences. As you can see by my mind map here, are going to take a little journey together. First, we're going to take a look at the biography of Howard Gardner and his education and where he came from. We'll get a little overview of the theory. We'll look at some of the key components of the theory, and then look at the impacts on gifted education and actually education overall based on this theory. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's take a look at who Howard Gardner is. Howard Gardner has a bachelor's from Harvard University. He has a PhD also from Harvard, and you can see those timelines there. I kind of found it interesting as we studied these theories to really look at the dates on some of the theories just to see kind of how the timeline progressed and some things like this. He is a professor at Harvard and also is a senior director of the Project Zero at Harvard. Project Zero, their mission is to understand the nature of human potential and then look at the context and conditions of what can be used to develop those potentials and support and help people flourish with those potentials that they have. So then that's from their website. Gardner did receive a Genius Fellowship from MacArthur back in 1981, which when you see the date that I put for kind of the timeline of this theory, we can see that fellowship is what sort of led him to publishing and those kinds of things. According to his website, he does continue research. He's published many, many books and articles and things. And right now he's focused on the moral and ethical understandings of behavior that go from childhood through higher education and into the workplace. So kind of interesting and lots of things to still learn from Howard Gardner. An overview of the theory of multiple intelligences. So let's take a look here. We all looked at this in our last assignment a little bit, but this was published originally in 1983 in the book Frames of Mind, so that kind of puts a timeline there for you. So you see he won that MacArthur grant in 1981, and then in 1983 published this theory. Basically, he was just saying that intelligence goes far beyond just logical reasoning and some things like that, like we believed before this came out. And so he believed that giftedness should not be limited to just looking at things like reading, writing, and math and things like that, so that we should be looking at far more things like this. If you are near my age, so if you are closer maybe to 50 than you are to 40, you might remember this really impacting your early education. I can certainly remember in elementary school, which I was starting around this time, taking surveys and things like that to see what type of learner you are and what type of intelligences you had, and all of those kinds of things. I also remember teachers implementing more things like kinesthetic learning and definitely changing the way maybe education was for our parents and things like that. So I think that we definitely experienced this through schools and see it still to this day. All right, so looking at some key components of this theory, and I think this is what most of us think of when we take a look at the theory of multiple intelligences, is Gardner identified 7, or now kind of more like 8 intelligences. So we have a linguistic intelligence, which would be like verbal and written language. These people would be maybe authors or poets or orators. We have logical and mathematical. Here people enjoy mathematics, science, you might see, some things like actuarial sciences and those kinds of things. Spatial intelligence is representing and manipulating 3D objects. So some things here that people might enjoy doing would be taking things apart, playing games. These would maybe be people who are navigators, or maybe just enjoy things like sculpture or that type of art, 3D art. There's the musical intelligence. These are people who enjoy playing and performing music, also just listening to music and understanding composition and things like that. So it doesn't have to be that you are personally musical. It could be an appreciation of music or a deep understanding of music. Bodily and kinesthetic, these are our people who are athletes, dancers, performers. This could even be things like crafts and arts where you are using your body and movement to help you achieve your goals. Interpersonal, I thought this was interesting. Of course, this is the understanding of others, and careers could be anything from therapists, which makes sense, to sales or something like that, where you understand what people are wanting and needing. And so sometimes this could be maybe used for good or bad, but interpersonal understanding. Intrapersonal is understanding oneself. This is often called metacognition, so understanding how you learn, and enjoying learning and understanding the world around you. There weren't really any like specific careers or professions listed for this, but these would be people that are very meticulous, very attention to detail kind of people, and so maybe enjoy careers where that would be something that they could do. Naturalistic are people that understand the workings of the world. They understand the environment around them. So these are biologists, zoologists, scientists, things like that, that really deal with the physical world around us. It was added later, but there is also a belief in an existential intelligence. And this is the capacity to deal with life's big questions. Why are we here? What are we doing? What's the purpose to the world? So these could be people like the Dalai Lama was mentioned. And I don't think it has to be quite that extreme, but definitely people who like thinking about the big picture and the big problems of the world. So these are probably what we think about the most, and this is what I can remember as a kid, teachers starting to think more about all of these different types of intelligences and trying to bring these into the classroom for students, which is great. All right, the last place that we're going to take a look here is impacts on gifted education and really just education in general from this theory. Oh, I'm so sorry, that jumped to the wrong spot there. All right, I think I have us to the right spot now. So some of the impacts made by this theory are a recognition of diverse learners. So we now don't believe that intelligence is limited specifically just to an IQ test, but we see that there's lots of different types of intelligence. Instructional differentiation, as I've mentioned, teachers were encouraged to teach to and provide lessons that really attached to all of these different types of intelligences. Expanded definitions of giftedness, so now we can see that students could be gifted in any one of these intelligences, not just maybe math or science or English. And that standardized tests are not the only way to determine intelligence, that we should be looking more at performance-based assessments, project-based, things like that. The development of the whole child, which I think we see this a lot now, where we're looking at more than just their intelligence, but their social, emotional well-being, some of that metacognition, and thinking about how people really are gifted in lots of ways and have more than one of these intelligences. And then improve student engagement, which comes from being able to pursue your own interests and understand your own learning a little bit better, and maybe being able to pursue your own gifts and talents instead of just being kind of put into a box that everyone's supposed to fit into. So hopefully this gives you a nice overview of Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences. He was a great person who has come up with lots of things and impacted education in many, many ways. So if you have a chance, definitely read more about him. Thank you.